What's going on, everyone? Wayne here. So look, if you're even just slightly aware of what's going on within the construction equipment market, you probably know that a couple of weeks back, John Deere and Hitachi made a pretty big announcement regarding excavators. After more than 3 decades of building excavators together through a joint venture, the two have decided to dissolve the partnership and go their separate ways. Well, kinda. As is the case with any business relationship that goes back this far and has been so integral to the success of both companies in a given market, this dissolution won't be exactly a clean break. Not that it's going to be messy, it's just that moving on is hard, you know? You find someone and you're like, are they the one? Is this the combination of great excavator design, brand power, and distribution network that could take me far into the 21st century? And then it turns out, yeah, they are. And you build excavators together for 30 years and you're happy. You're both happy. But then, you know, time takes its toll. And maybe you grow apart. And it's not like it's anybody's fault. It's just like life, you know? Like people change. It's okay to want different things in life. Wait, what are we talking about again? Excavators. No, unlike some human relationships, the Deere-Hitachi breakup won't be messy. It's just that the nature of the Deere-Hitachi joint venture was such that each company's respective strengths were so deeply integrated, and the work toward the success that the companies found was so equally shared that untangling this ball of yarn is definitely going to take some time. But why are they untangling it to begin with? And how are customers and the machines they rely on going to be impacted moving forward? A lot of it has to do with the growing importance of distribution when it comes to manufacturing machines at scale. But before we get into any other questions, let's nail down exactly what this relationship was. Well, what this relationship still is until March 1st of 2022. Now, even though this excavator joint venture between Deere and Hitachi started in the late 80s, the two companies' working relationship actually stretches all the way back into the 60s. So at that time, the two started collaborating together through a supply agreement that saw Deere manufacturing undercarriage components for Hitachi excavators being made in Japan, while Hitachi was making hydraulic components for Deere excavators being made here in America. In 1983, the companies took the next step, entering a new supply agreement that saw Hitachi making whole machines bearing the Deere branding. But 5 years later, the companies made the big move. In 1988, they officially joined forces as Deere-Hitachi, an excavator joint venture that would combine Hitachi's design and technology with John Deere's customer support, parts, dealer network, and maybe most importantly, its then 150-year-old brand. Now, both companies split ownership of the joint venture 50-50, and over the years, they established 3 manufacturing facilities throughout North and South America. The first was in Kernersville, North Carolina. That is the largest facility of all 3. It's got about 1 million square feet, and it serves as kind of the America's headquarters. The second focuses more on forestry machines, and that is located in Langley, British Columbia, Canada. The third is located in Brazil and kind of serves as the base for all of customers in all of South America. Today, this operation is responsible for manufacturing 13 to 47 metric ton excavators bearing both the Deere and Hitachi brands that are sold throughout North and South America. Now, most of the machines they sell are built within those 3 facilities that we just mentioned, but some others are built in Japan and imported into the Americas. Now, over the next 30 years, obviously, this joint venture resulted in big growth in the excavator market for both companies, and it became one of the world's largest manufacturers of excavators, period. But beyond that, it reduced logistics costs for both companies while also allowing them to respond much, much faster to the customer voice in South America and North America than they were before. In other words, this joint venture did exactly what both companies were hoping it would do when they founded it in 1988. It gave Deere a great, solid, long-lasting excavator lineup, and it allowed Hitachi to make huge inroads with customers here in North and South America. So, if it's been going so well, why are they dissolving the joint venture? And maybe the word inevitable is too strong to use in this case, but given the trajectories and aspirations of both companies, especially here in the last 10 years or so, this arrangement was never going to last forever. And you know, both companies have acknowledged that. Both have gone on record saying that this dissolution is a mutual decision. And in fact, in a recent conversation that I had with John Deere Senior Vice President Dominic Ruccolo, he told me that the companies actually see this as a natural evolution of their long-standing business relationship. And Dom's description of how they're seeing this dissolution makes more sense if you kind of step back and take a look at Deere's construction and forestry division and how it has changed over the last 5 years, specifically the momentum that has grown behind that specific division. Now, ever since John Deere established its construction and forestry division back in 1956, this division has competed for attention, not just within the construction equipment market with larger players like Caterpillar, but even within its own company. Farming and turf equipment and green tractors, those are the things that John Deere has primarily been known for around the world, and that's probably never going to change. But those gaps, not just between Deere's ag division and its construction equipment division, but the one we mentioned before that, the one between Deere and Caterpillar, those gaps are closing. And that's largely thanks to Deere's $5 billion acquisition of the Wirtgen Group in 2017. Not only did that acquisition greatly expand Deere's market reach throughout construction, giving it basically a whole new segment of that market that it didn't have before. Not only did it expand its reach through the market, it also provided a very healthy bump in the company's annual sales figures for construction equipment. In 2018, the first full fiscal year following the 2017 Wirtgen acquisition, Deere's equipment sales and revenue saw an immediate $3 billion boost thanks to that deal. Between 2016 and 2019, the construction equipment division at John Deere has more than doubled the amount of revenue it reports and made huge gains in the share that it accounts for in the total equipment sold within John Deere. Now, those numbers push Deere into a solid standing as the second largest equipment maker globally, and it narrowed that gap between Deere and Caterpillar in terms of global equipment sales. Now, with that momentum in mind, Deere has no plans on slowing down anytime soon. The company appears to have its eyes set on seriously challenging Cat's global equipment dominance, and to that end, they are excited about the opportunity of having full control over their entire excavator lineup from design and development all the way through manufacturing from here on out. Plus, they have all sorts of confidence from all the things that they have learned from Hitachi over the last 30 years through that relationship, and they have a lot of confidence as well in their ability to continue producing the excavators that they offer today. But in the same way that Deere is excited to continue its growth and its upward trajectory and have, full control over that excavator lineup, Hitachi is ready for some growth here in North America and South America of its own. Now, in a statement as part of announcing this dissolution of the JV with John Deere, Al Quinn, he's the CEO of Hitachi Construction Machinery Loaders America. That's the company that basically makes wheel loaders for sale here in North America right now. Al Quinn said that the dissolution of the venture with Deere will allow Hitachi to, quote, better determine its destiny in the Americas. So based on what we've heard from Deere and what we've heard from Hitachi, you don't really have to read between the lines here to figure out that at least part of the reason for this dissolution is that both companies have ambitions set towards larger pieces of the market here in North America. In fact, Hitachi has actually been preparing for this split since 2017, and there's good reason for that. As part of this deal, Hitachi is actually losing its entire manufacturing footprint for excavators in both North and South America, and that's because Deere is actually purchasing all three facilities currently run under the Deere-Hitachi joint venture. Compounding things, Hitachi is also losing a huge chunk of its dealer footprint in North and South America because Deere's distribution network in both continents will no longer carry Hitachi machines once the JV is dissolved at the end of February of next year. Now, Hitachi says that it's going to manufacture all of its machines, excavators, wheel loaders, and mining equipment in Japan and import them into North and South America for the foreseeable future. Now, as for distribution for those machines, here in the US at least, that's going to fall to the roughly 60 or so dealers that currently comprise Hitachi's loader dealer network. And yeah, that sounds like they're losing a lot of ground, only to have to do a bunch of work to make that ground up. But it's actually that work of building the Hitachi brand to a stronger place in the eyes of customers here in the Americas that Hitachi is actually excited about. In fact, in that conversation I had with Quinn, he told me that Hitachi actually wants to elevate the brand here in the Americas to the same position that Hitachi enjoys globally. Now, that actual work of building that brand to a stronger position here, Hitachi feels that the best way to do that is direct interaction with both customers and dealers, something that they can't really do right now in that current joint venture with Deere because Deere handles distribution. Okay, but why now? What is it about 2021 that makes it the right time for Hitachi to move on? So Al Quinn told me that 30 years ago when this joint venture was initially established, really the primary focus at the time was manufacturing, building a good, solid, long-lasting product. Today, though, things are a little bit different, a little bit more complicated. You still want to build a long-lasting and solid product you're proud to put your name on, but now the primary focus is long-term customer satisfaction.
We've been using Hitachi since 2000. Our first machine, we're still running today. It's a good, reliable piece of equipment. We have about 15 of them right now. They work every day, don't let us down, very reliable.
And just having a good machine really isn't enough for that long-term satisfaction. Really now the key to that is distribution and value chain, providing parts, service, rental, and sales of used equipment. Another factor that kind of plays into the decision-making around dissolving this joint venture now is that Hitachi's wheel loader market share has actually doubled here in the last 4 years. And Hitachi attributes that success and its long-standing success as really one of the largest manufacturers of excavators in the world to the direct contact it has with those customer bases. So with that formula for success in hand, direct contact with dealers and customers leading to success in both excavators in terms of global sales and wheel loader sales here in North America, Hitachi feels very strongly that it can extend that strategy to its new excavators in North America and new mining equipment as it further expands its portfolio here. So confident that following the dissolution of Deere-Hitachi at the end of February in 2022, Hitachi has already said that they plan to quickly launch new machines and new technologies through a revamped and strengthened distribution network. So moving forward, Hitachi really sees its path to success running through a few things here, right? They want to provide, better uptime. They want to provide better technology, specifically better, full fleet integrated technology. And they also want to expand upon their rental and used equipment purchasing avenues. Now, we've spent a lot of time talking about the business decisions and other motivations, aspirations that went into this move, but what about the machines? How is this move going to affect customers and the product? In the short term, not very much. So I mentioned earlier that as part of this deal, Deere is actually purchasing the 3 excavator manufacturing facilities that it currently runs as part of this joint venture with Hitachi. But how is it going to, keep those facilities running, keep manufacturing those excavators once Hitachi stops providing the designs and technology? Well, even though the joint venture between the two companies is going to dissolve, they plan on keeping in touch. And that's thanks to a new supply agreement that will see Hitachi continue to license its designs and supply, excavator kits to John Deere so that John Deere can continue manufacturing Deere branded excavators in those 3 facilities. And here's the other interesting aspect of this new supply agreement. It's pretty expensive because quite a few Deere branded excavators are currently produced by Hitachi in Japan, and they will continue to be. Now, those excavators include compact excavators, reduced tail swing excavators, wheeled excavators, and larger machines like the 670 and 870. Now, under this new supply agreement, Hitachi is going to continue manufacturing those Deere branded excavators and send them for import into the Americas. Now, whether or not those machines ever make it stateside instead of being imported from Japan, whether or not that's going to happen hasn't really been decided yet. So really the main difference here from the manufacturing and the machine side is that Deere is no longer going to be churning out orange Hitachi branded machines at those facilities in Brazil, Canada, and North Carolina. And as we said earlier, that means that all Hitachi branded machines moving forward will be manufactured in Japan. So where it gets really interesting for me is when you start looking longer term. Deere is just as excited as Hitachi for this newfound independence. A big benefit in this move for Deere is that it means deeper integration of not only its technology, but customer feedback. Deere is really big in voice of customer as part of its design and development phase. And Deere is really excited to expand that same degree of integration of both of those elements that go into other machines that are fully designed and manufactured by Deere into its excavator lineup moving forward. And one other interesting aspect of this dissolution is that future technologies and the strategies kind of surrounding those future technologies were mentioned by both companies in response as to why this was happening. Now, what those future technologies are, obviously we don't know yet, but Hitachi put a very strong emphasis on new technologies in its announcement of this dissolution. So like I said at the beginning, this breakup is not messy. It's actually pretty methodical and kind of inspiring in a way. I mean, 30 years ago, 2 companies acknowledged their weaknesses. They banded together to build something greater than their individual parts. And It worked. Now they're acknowledging that, things have changed. And even as they part ways, they're doing so gracefully and working together and with a grateful eye on the help they provided one another along the way. Honestly, we could all learn a lot from Deere and Hitachi. It's beautiful, really. Too much? Not too much? Anyway, I hope this video answered all the questions that you might have had around the dissolution of the Deere-Hitachi excavator joint venture. Thanks so much to Dominic Ruccolo of John Deere and Al Quinn of Hitachi for talking to me for the video. And thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.